10 till 6 in the morning, day 68, hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. Just entered Lassen Volcanic Park. So last night we camped on the edge at the Boundary Spring because once you enter Lassen, you are required to have a bear can. It's 19.3 miles through the section that requires one. So we'll be hiking all that today, plus on to Hat Creek, so that we can get 23 miles in. And then just have 8 miles in the morning to go see Christy. Again, very warm last night. Laid around in a pair of shorts. Actually laid down at 4:30 in the afternoon and fell right to sleep. Woke up at 6:30 when some of the other hikers came in. Knew it was going to be very crowded there because everybody stages there before going through the park. There were probably 20 tents there last night. People packed in pretty tight. But eventually it cooled down. I unzipped the rain fly and kept the side doors open because it just never really got cool. But this morning there's a slight breeze and we want to get some of this hiking done before it gets really hot. So that's looking back on about 1/3 of the climb we've done so far. You can see the path goes down between the trees and on down. So lots of climbing this morning. Sun's coming up and we only have to go a mile or so in before we go to Terminal Geysers. So we'll go see what that looks like. So one thing about this area of the trail that you wouldn't intuitively expect is it's a lot more humid here. It's close and sticky, and when there's no breeze, you just soak your clothes. I'm already getting my shirt wet, and it's just after 6 in the morning. It's supposed to be a hot one today. So there is Terminal Geyser. Some stuff going on underground here. There's even some steam coming out of this one right here. So the next site on the tour is Boiling Springs Lake, which is coming up pretty soon, and the PCT goes right around it. Here's Boiling Springs Lake. You can hear it boiling. They say not to go beyond this point because the ground can cave in. It's all thermal underneath. Pretty cool. Some deer grazing here, right by the hot springs. Go right up here. log crossing over Kings Creek. Had a nice break down at Kings Creek. Did the log crossing. And now gotta do the climb out of the valley. That should be our last big climb for the day. And then it should be smooth sailing. This was put on one of the tree reflectors. Christy, I thought you and your friends would really appreciate this. It's just after 10 in the morning. We've covered 9.35 miles, which means we have about 10 miles left to get out of the park. And about 4 after that to the campsite. Going in and out of burn zone, but there's been some pretty parts. And terrain hasn't been bad. So we're making progress. Saw a trail crew back there working on removing blowdowns. It was, I always thank them for their work. It's not easy to haul all the equipment up here on the trail and then spend your time cutting up logs. But they said that means until they get out of the park, there's no more blowdowns on the trail. Nice work, guys. It's 11:30 and we just finished a lunch break with ramen, Spam, and a big peanut butter cookie. 1.5 liters of water. And here at Lower Twin Lake, got to meet some hikers from Germany, Speedy Gonzalez and the Negotiator. And as I was getting water, I was walking out on the log to get further out, and turning around on the log was harder than I thought. So I have wet feet, but it doesn't feel so bad. Today's hot. So we've got 7.5 miles to the boundary of the park, and there's a spring there, so I've got a liter with me that I'll drink 2 hours from now. And then and then the rest of the walk will get me to the spring when it's time to drink again. It's supposedly just 0.3 miles off trail down a hill, but if you're gonna take a break, then take a break. Once I've done that, then should be just 4 and a bit to the campground. So far, there's been enough shade, and the terrain now is leveled off where from now on it's all the way to the highway. Actually, it's level or downhill. We had a deer that was very curious and circled us during lunch. I think it had received handouts before and was looking for another one. And tonight's camp is not in a burn zone, which will be great. there's the ranger's cabin. Wouldn't mind living there for a while. Okay, so we made it out of Lassen Park, and now we're looking for the Boundary Spring, which should be here somewhere down the road. Well, that was quite the adventure. So we got to the junction for Boundary Spring and thought it would just be an easy 0.3 mile little cutoff, but there was no sign pointing to a boundary spring. There was an old burned out trail you could barely follow. If we hadn't had the app showing the trail, we wouldn't have found it. But it did lead down to this nice little shady stream. So after up and downing over the ashen mounds of dead trees, we did get back here to a nice spot, and I took a little break under this tree. Now we got to navigate back to the trail, and then we got 4 miles or a little more than that to go, and we'll be at the campsite for tonight. So reviewing the sign, we were actually headed to Hat Creek, no matter what they may call it as far as terminal spring. So yeah, that's a Hat Creek loop, which looks pretty defunct. It's a pretty faint trail to follow. Okay, shouldn't have but about 4 miles to go before we set up camp for the night. This breeze is most welcome. We've definitely been in pine plantation for a while. You can tell because the trees are planted in rows, but it makes for shade. They're not burnt. There's a breeze. All of that really helps when it's this hot. Less than a mile to camp. Hooray! Serenity Shuttle has landed, trail mile 1369.6, which means we had a 23.3 mile day today and have 7.7 miles left to get to Highway 44 to get picked up by Christy, which will be fabulous. So, hike through the remainder of the burn zone today, and it was hot. In fact, that's why I'm horizontal in a pair of shorts right now in the tent. I just need to get all anything that might make me hot off, and drink a bunch of water and cool down a little bit, and then fix some dinner. Some of us hikers had a discussion today about why we think so many people quit in this area, and it's pretty obvious. You finish the Sierra, it starts to seem routine, you pass the halfway mark, you're in a burn zone. What else could there be? It really wears on your psyche walking through a burn zone for a week. So, ready to be done with that. We're right here by Hat Creek. Nice flowing clear water, big pine trees, everything is green and wonderful. And now we're just waiting for it to cool off a little bit so we can get into the evening routine, get some rest, and get back to Christy. So thanks for hiking with me today, and remember, we're doing the impossible. That makes us mighty.